Hi guys, Tom Shepherd here. I'm going to be painting this beautiful macaw for you today, and I'm going to start by blocking in really simple shapes. So the first thing is, how are we going to look at our subject? What I'm looking for is the biggest shapes we can possibly see, and often I'm just blurring my eyes for this. So if I blur my eyes, for me the biggest shape I can possibly see is this big red kind of backwards C shape here, and the way that it flows down here. And then rather than thinking about the fact I'm painting a parrot's face, I'm just blurring my eyes and looking for the biggest and most simple version of my subject I can see. So the face is almost a perfect triangle just in there. So far we've got a triangle there, big C shape here that kind of folds down here as well. And then really there's only two other big shapes left. We've got the yellow in sunlight here, which is quite an abstract shape, but it's fairly easy to understand if I forget it's a parrot's wing. And the next big shape here is this kind of triangle. And we've got yellow, green, blue in there, but it's all in shadow. And it's this kind of triangle here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 big shapes to start with. If I can get those 4 big shapes onto my canvas as accurately as I can, looking at the relationship between them and where they sit, that's the place to start. And then we start to build on detail and refine those shapes as the painting develops. So that's where I'm going to start, those 4, 5 big shapes. So really it's whatever it takes you to get into the painting. Some of you might be more comfortable drawing with a pencil first, but I'm going to dive in with paint, and it's going to be a mixture of drawing with a bit of line and blocking in with a big brush. And I'm using really thin paint to start. I'm going to kind of look for the face shape in this big C shape to start, and I'm just going to very simply blur my eyes and just get a few marks down. We're looking really simple shapes, trying to get those angles right. So it's kind of simple but accurate shapes. What exactly is that shape doing? I'm just giving myself a few markers. I can get the big brush out in a minute and take it further. But you can see, and now I'm looking for this big kind of C shape that does that. And I blur my eyes. It doesn't need to be 100% correct, so don't get too worried about it. We're doing something like that. So that's kind of a very loose representation of our subject that is a start. And then we can refine those shapes if we need to later. That's our kind of start point. And then this is, we're talking about this C shape kind of carrying on down here. So I'm giving myself little markers. If I drop a line down from the edge of the face, we kind of get roughly to the edge of the wing, which is there. That's got a bit of an angle to it, something like that. And then we've got another angle kind of here. So something like that. That's kind of our start point. And then the next thing is I'm just going to get out a big brush. I've got my shape. So the next thing is to ask myself, what sort of tone is it going to be? So by tone I mean light or dark. And this is quite an orangey bright red. It's tonally quite light. So I'm just going to get the paint down. Quite watery at this stage. And a big brush. Big brush stops me messing around with detail. And I can just get these big shapes blocked in. I'm still blurring my eyes and looking at my subject. My drawing is fairly accurate, but I can use this stage to kind of refine the drawing a little bit. But I'm keeping those brush strokes really big and nice and brushy. And so I'm just blocking in kind of the dominant tone at this point. So the dominant tone is a light tone and it's red in colour. So something like that. And then you can see as we come down here, although it's still red and the shape is still simple, the tone changes. It becomes red in shadow. So I'm going to start just off to one side. I'm going to mix myself a slightly darker red. And I'm going to blur my eyes and just look for a nice simple shape. Like I said, I'm almost forgetting that it's a parrot, and I'm trying to look at it in terms of simple shape and tone. I come down here. So what we're looking for is a very loose, almost abstract version of our subject, which we've kind of got so far. So simple but accurate shapes is the thing that I think you really want to focus on. And it gets a brighter red down here. There's a bit more of a movement to that shape there. Something like that. Have I got that foot in the right place? If I draw a line down from the beak, this whole shape needs to go over here a bit more. That's better. And then just take a closer look at this shape here. So at the moment, this part of the wing is coming up higher than it needs to, so I'm just going to adjust the shape. It's still dead simple, but I'm just refining that shape. So you can see the bird's kind of in there. There's bits that need changing at some point, but for now, that's a perfectly good start. Refining that shape. Working wet into wet at this stage. And so for me, the next big shape is this yellow in sunlight. So I'm going to go to a new part of the canvas, a new part of the palette, and we're going to mix a nice bright yellow. And we can go back over the top of this yellow if we need to add lights or shadow, but initially I'm just looking for this big shape. Nice big brush, almost forgetting that it's feathers and just analysing it in terms of shape and tone. And so tonally, as we come this way within this shape, it's beginning to get just a touch darker, not hugely so, but the tone is ever so slightly darker. Something like that. And then just under here we've got yellow, but it's yellow in shadow, and so tonally it's much darker than this, but I'm still trying to look at it as just a simple shape and think that only the tone has changed. And it's got a kind of greeny tinge to it, so it's the yellow but in shadow, something like that. Nice big shape, almost doesn't matter what it is. What matters is, have I got the shape right and have I got the tone right? And then that lovely yellow comes down and becomes this lovely dark blue. So again, new spot on the palette, and it's kind of blue, but it's not that bright. So tonally, it's a little bit darker, and I can kind of come in to some of these shapes here. Nice big shapes, big brush, stops me messing around. And this bit, the tone gets a little bit lighter, so I'm just going to leave it blank white page for now. And then we can start to look a little bit more at what the actual feathers are doing. And at this stage, you can have a lot of fun with it. You don't have to be too precise. We just want to get those big shapes down. And then the very last thing to do is we started with the biggest, simplest shapes, these really big shapes. So just at this stage, we want to block in the smaller shapes. So we're working from big shapes to small shapes. So I want to get into the face and block that in, and get into the beak and block that in. But I'm still going to be analysing the subject in exactly the same way. What's the shape and what's the tone? So we've got this tone here, which is much darker than the red. And it does something kind of like that. Checking my angles. Again, I'm not really getting caught up in the fact it is a parrot's beak, and I'm just looking for a slightly odd looking kind of triangle shape that's got a bit of dark to it. And then we've got this shape here, which again, try and forget what it is and just look for the fact it's a dark triangle there, and that triangle gets ever so slightly lighter and a little bit more red as it comes in there. And all of this can change if it needs to. It's just giving us something to go on. Then we've got the top half of that bit of beak in shadow. And then we can always leave the paper for now, at least as light. So that's the face kind of in there. Needs a little bit of a stronger shape there. And then we can get into the face. So the face here, I've not got the shape quite right, but that's fine because I can dive in, and with slightly more opaque paint I can begin to shape the face. But again, although I'm calling it the face, I'm more looking at it in terms of what shape is it. Trying to make it a simple but accurate shape that I can put the light back onto if I need to. Something like that. To sum up, we've blocked in our big shapes. That's really important because it gives you that foundation to build the rest of the painting. In the next stage, we're going to look at refining those big shapes. If you like what you've seen, give me a big thumbs up. Really helps me out. If you've got any comments or there's anything you'd like to see me paint, please do comment below. I'll try my best to accommodate. Hit the subscribe button to be notified of any new videos as they come out, and there's going to be lots more. Until then, happy painting, and I'll see you soon.